Why are you currently a failure at whatever you're trying to do? Most of us don't share the bad things until after they're a blip in the history. We have to fail to succeed. And yes, that's true, but we can change our relationship with failure. If somebody's going to be turned off by this, good.
Hey, Christina, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Right, so we know each other. We've met at loads of different events. We're in the same circles. The classic one is traffic and conversion. And you're pretty hard to miss because you're blue. For anyone that's not watching this, there's obviously a blue hue, but more importantly, there's blue hair. She wears that out. So I want to understand, because in getting to know you, like a lot of us entrepreneurs, we hide behind our shields and, we're naturally introverted, but we put on a great persona for that moment. How did the whole blue thing came about for you?
Honestly, it was probably one of the first stages of being a little rebellious, and I just had the tips blue. Right. I was like, if somebody isn't going to take me seriously just because my hair is not a normal color, that's probably not somebody I want in my world. So that ended up working very well, even with just the tips. I started this about 8 years ago. And even just the tips would just turn off people that were, the people you really don't want to do business with that are going to care about that kind of thing most of the time. And it was just really effective.
Did you find it helped you as well, though?
It helped me a lot with my confidence. It helped me a lot, especially as I got braver and braver and I went to full blue instead of just the ends blue. And I got a real bright blue instead of a boring, dark, almost black blue. And it helped me a lot with being comfortable being me out in public. And then it just kind of kept going. Now I enjoy my nerdy anime accessories. I'm having a blast with pigtails again that are wildly practical, but also just fun. I like the dopamine hit when I see myself in the mirror.
Oh, that's good. Everyone should have that hit rather than the alternative. All right. So big blue personality, but what is it you actually do? Let's bring that to the crowd.
Yeah, I'm a business designer, especially for neurodivergent entrepreneurs. We are 300% more likely to become entrepreneurs. So if you have ADHD, autism, you're more likely to move into being an entrepreneur anyway, but we're also a lot more likely to fail. So we're heavily influencing all those entrepreneurial failure statistics. So I got into business design because I wanted to improve that entrepreneurial journey. Everybody's got the same ones. Why do we all have the same backstory? But nobody's trying to figure out how do we change it for the next round.
So the business designer, that, if someone said to me, I help brand companies, fine. I can understand that. I understand how to scale companies. But what does a business designer do?
Designing your businesses around you, around all of your strengths, your weaknesses, your goals for your life, your goals for your day. Right? We're not putting off being happy until we've made it, because most of us cross those success goalposts so many times over and not even realize it. So it's we're not going to wait until we have fun. How are we having fun now? What are we doing now? What do you not want to do? What do you want to do? Is your dream to retire and have a chicken farm out in the middle of nowhere and invite your top tier clients out to a glamping retreat on your farm? One of my students, that is their goal. Another one is launching a cult, my favorite cult. Super fun, great place to hang out and have a good time. It's whatever is going to make you happy, there is a way to make that profitable. We just have to find it. And that's what business design is all about. And most entrepreneurs end up with multiple businesses. So we don't want to just design the one business. We want to design around the entrepreneur, around all of the things that you're going to want to do.
Now, you said quite openly that most people with ADHD, some form of autism scale, we end up being entrepreneurs and we end up failing. Failure is everything to do with the growth. You can't grow without the failing, and it's only a true failure when you actually stop. But why is it now, where they say the nerds have inherited the world, why is it now that we're moving into a period of time where the entrepreneur is the rock star? In the 80s and the 90s, if you were an entrepreneur, you were looked at as some kind of criminal that was selling stolen audio and you couldn't get a day job. Now we're actually revered as those that are in control. Why has there been a shift? And why are people so scared of being an entrepreneur?
I think, honestly, we talk about our lives more than your average human would. Because, I mean, when you're talking about entrepreneurs, we're talking about everything from content creators, brand ambassadors, all the way to like more traditional, like CEOs, founders, advisors, people rolling up their sleeves, doing coaching, websites, all that kind of stuff. So any way that you can, if you are doing something outside of a 9 to 5 to make money, you have the potential to be an entrepreneur. And we talk about it. We talk about it a lot, but we talk about the good things. Most of us don't share the bad things until after they're a blip in the history. And then it's like, hey, really bad stuff can happen when you're an entrepreneur, but look, on the other side is really good stuff too. And the ones who don't make it to the good stuff, you just never hear about them. Right. You don't hear about them. They're not out there talking. They're not out there sharing their stories because their stories ended in failure. Of course, they don't want to broadcast that. So all you have is the success stories. Why wouldn't you want that?
Yeah, it's crazy. We need to identify. We're not very open. Let's be blunt. We try to hide all the shit, and when things go wrong, there's all that embarrassment and kind of clouds on it. You said about business design, and when someone comes to you or someone like you, do they need to know what business they're getting into, or do they just need to start recognizing their strengths and then you do the rest?
No, they just start recognizing their strengths. They start recognizing, like, we almost always find glimmers of what they enjoy doing somewhere in the past, right? Like the one who's launching a cult, she was always the one who could gather all the kids on the playground. She was the one that everybody wanted to rally around and go play and have fun with. So now she's literally launching a cult where you can play and have fun with her. She's doing motivational speaking and a lot of other stuff too, but we see glimmers in the past of, whatever is moving into the now and how it's going to change things. So it's being really honest with yourself. Usually that first step of really understanding who you are and what you want to do and why you haven't been able to do it yet, right? Like why are you currently a failure at whatever you're trying to do? And we have to dig into it. And it's raw and it's emotional. But on the flip side is clarity and focus and excitement. And you mentioned earlier we have to fail to succeed. And yes, that's true, but we can change our relationship with failure, right? Like we have students at the academy that celebrate when they get a troll because we've taught them to. We have taught them, like, your first social media troll, that means you're finally getting your messaging polarizing. Not everything you say is going to be completely polarizing, but when you say something that attracts a troll, on the flip side, even if they never speak up, is a raving fan. You said something polarizing enough that it got a rise out of somebody. You're producing content. You're putting it out in the world. If you weren't, you couldn't get a troll, right? So like we celebrate predictable failure points. Like for some people, they get a troll and it would stop them. They would stop. They'd be like, we actually had a troll on our live show last week. And it's like one of my partners is Muslim and has the hijab. So we got like that kind of troll. You know what I mean? And we laughed it off. We had a good time. We turned it into a teaching moment right there live on the show, put his comments up on the screen, and then, banned him, blocked him, and moved on with our lives. But it's you get to celebrate failing.
So this is my favorite question whenever I speak to someone, why you? Now, we know, we don't all, but I know that, again, you're an introvert. You like to keep yourself to yourself. You like to be engaged in things, but like most of us in these kind of environments, we're really shit at networking. We're not very good at like, hey, how you doing? We don't like to do it unless we can put on the uniform and expel that energy for a short time. So you've gone from this introvert to now like the Sherlock Holmes of people's businesses before they know what the business is. What was that transition like? And when was it you realized that your skill set was actually getting into other people and making them great and making them monetize their strengths and powers?
I think it kind of started as like a neurodivergent special interest, and I was doing it anyway. So I was doing a lot of like marketing, web design, brand design, the normal traditional marketer kind of vibes. And people would come to me to build their website, and I'd just be asking the normal questions. What do you sell? What do you sell it to? Why should people buy it from you? And they couldn't answer. Or their answers were terrible. Or when they would answer, like, you could just feel that they didn't really believe in what they were selling. They didn't really think it would work. They didn't know, like you could feel the lack of confidence. And so I would dig into that and I'd be like, okay, but you don't sound very confident when you're saying that. Why? And then I would get to hear what's not working. And I would end up derailing an entire website project and basically doing a whole bunch of chit chats with somebody because I didn't know this was a strategy call. I didn't know I was a business designer. I didn't know I could sell strategy this way. And I would just do a bunch of sales calls just to get enough information to be able to do it. And literally the world of AI, I sat down with AI because I was Googling. I couldn't figure out what this is called. Sat down with AI and I explained what was happening. I'm like, why is this happening every time? And he goes, what am I doing? What is this called? And it's like, oh, it's business design. I was like, what? What is that? I've never heard of that. And started looking into it. And I don't know, just kind of, I wanted to figure out why people keep failing over and over and over again at the same spots. What has got people stuck? And can we just design like grade school for entrepreneurs? Like, don't do this, do this. Don't do this, do this. Because we know they need to niche down. We know they need to specialize. We know they need to develop a stage persona so they can put themselves out there and show up consistently for their brand without getting all introverted and shy and scared. We know that it's hard to show up and promote your stuff if you don't believe in it. It's hard to show up and promote your stuff if you don't think it's going to work because you haven't stuck with it long enough to see it get results. Like, we know these things. Why aren't we fixing them? So I got really passionate about like, let's just fix that. Let's just fix that. And I designed an entire blueprint framework. Go figure, blueprint, right? That's a little on the nose. Blueprint framework that walks you through all that literally walks you through every single thing that you have to do to choose your human, to figure out your businesses, to identify your profitable partnerships that you can build up, to figure out your client success plans, plan your first exit path, like get off of the line on the main thing that you sell as fast as you can, because that's just going to bog you down. You know, like just, I don't know. It's fascinating to me.
And that's the academy, correct?
It's everything that I do. So you just get it in different ways. And this is something that I teach people too. Like the academy is a partnership. It's a joint venture. So you get me, you get my partner. So you have a mindset coach to actually make you integrate the stuff that I'm teaching you and get out of your own way. Because that's another thing clients like to do a lot. You have Victoria, who's helping you with your people systems, because you're not a real entrepreneur if you have no employees. If you have no team, if you never outsource anything, you're a freelancer. You're not an entrepreneur. And that's okay. If you want to be a freelancer, you can make lots of money that way. You can invest personally. You can make your dreams come true. But if you want to be a real entrepreneur, you have to manage teams. So we have that. We have a web developer coming on. We've got a marketer coming on. We've got a whole team of people over there, all dedicated to getting you through that journey faster, easier, and with a greater chance of success. Then you can work with me one-on-one to really nail your blueprint, scale it up, do stuff. You can work with my agency to execute your blueprint, because most of us are horrible project managers. So my agency handles the project managing side, get it done for you. And then obviously, because everybody's doing this because it's the cool thing to do, we have high-level SaaS because people need websites and marketing and like all the tools. So we have a high-level SaaS company as well. So 4 companies, all on the same mission, all helping in different ways.
All right, so the academy we just mentioned, neurospicyacademy.com. So there's going to be a link below, so you're going to be able to check that out and have a look at that. So there's a couple of things, mindset-wise. When is it, or what should they be looking at? The person listening to this and going, well, that's interesting. What should be happening in their life to cause them to think, hang on a minute, I need Christina. I need someone to help me here, because 9 times out of 10, we don't recognize the signs until it's a little bit later. And then we go, oh, why didn't I see those signs? So what should be happening in their life that should make them think immediately, oh, that's happening to me. I need to be involved in this kind of environment?
If you're not happy and you don't know how to get to happy. So you know you want to have a business, you know you want to make money outside of a 9-to-5 job, you know that you want to do more with your life than just slave away at a company 9-to-5 for the rest of your life. And you're doing something. You either have a business, you're a freelancer, you might have a small team, but you are not happy. You're not enjoying what you're doing. And that is a huge red flag. If you're not happy, you don't know how to get happy.
I'm interrupting this podcast for 35 seconds to give you more value. If you are an ambitious entrepreneur looking for the opportunity in everything you come across, don't just listen to this podcast. Imagine taking part in these conversations every week. Imagine having a new network of creative and disruptive entrepreneurs to support and push you into becoming the person you can be. With this high level and exclusive community, it exists. Head to simsdistillery.com to learn more. A lot of the time when people aren't happy, and I've seen this a lot of times within my coaching stuff, better the devil you know, stick to your lane, don't rock the boat. All of these horrible one-liners which
Yep.
teach people to settle. I'm a great believer, like you've just said, when you're not happy, do something about it. But there's a
Yep.
lot of people out there that go, well, I don't know. And they actually, someone put it way better than me. They won't risk happy. They're much happier to be miserable because they're content and they're settled, but they won't risk being happy. Why? Makes no sense to me.
Comfort zone, or like we started calling it the familiar zone, because comfortable doesn't always mean comfort, right? But it means it's what you know. And it's a lot easier to stay with what you know, with what's familiar, especially if failure's familiar, right? If you've been there, done that, failure's familiar, stress is familiar. The clients that, they may suck, but you know what to do with them. The projects may suck, but you know how to do it. It's familiar. And our brains are biologically hardwired to keep us that way. They want to keep us safe. And the known is safer than the unknown every time. So we have to rewire our brains to be comfortable with risk. Like I was talking about earlier, just turning what would normally be something that would turn you into a negative spiral into a positive outlook. And that can be as simple as just reframing these problems as glimmers that you're heading the right direction. Like we can tell you you're going to get trolls. We can tell you that you're going to get a bad client, but you're going to know how to handle it. And we can tell you that that's going to help you learn how to not get that same bad client again in the future. So it's like when you can reframe some of these things as glimmers that you're moving in the right direction, they stop derailing you and you start rewiring your brain that unknown can be fun. And you'll see this in almost every entrepreneur success story. You even see it in some of your own success story. When you read your bio and your history and all of that kind of stuff, we see that there's a point in time where it kind of changes, where their relationship with risk changed. And it's usually when they learn that it's a sign that good things are happening and they've rewired their brain. So it's that comfort zone. It's that familiar zone. It's that, staying in front of the tiger. Most of the time, their businesses are in some level of distress. Their personal life is in some level of distress. And they're too busy chasing the tiger to think about what would life look like with no tigers.
I remember Joe Polish always used to say, get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yeah. And you hear that little nugget all the time, but nobody tells you what that means or how to do it.
Yeah. No, you're right. I've heard the nugget, but I've never understood. I've never heard the explanation of how to get there, because most of the time, once you start acknowledging it, you're already there and you're already comfortable with being uncomfortable. We're in a planet now where everything today won't be around in a year's time. It's all different. It's all changing. It's all advancing. But a lot of the time we're scared. And you're saying about reframing that fear, if you reframe the fear that, you've got a troll because you're trying something, it's like the classic, you got scars because you tried. But today we're losing the ability to try. I know someone used to say, well, everyone used to say, what would you do today if you know you couldn't fail? Well, today the saying is, what would you do today if you knew no one was going to laugh at you? We're actually scared of that laughter. You talk about reframing the trolls, and I love the way you did it. But people are frightened of being seen to fail, or being seen to fall over, or seen to walk into things. Why are we scared of being laughed at so much?
Well, I mean, especially when you're dealing with neurodivergent entrepreneurs, we are significantly more likely to hear, I forget the exact number, but it is a ridiculous amount of negative things about ourselves before we even turn 10, because nothing we do is right. The way we talk, the way we interact with people, how we respond in social settings, none of it's right. We're too loud, we're too quiet, we're too, too focused or too daydreamer, or we're just so convinced that everything we do is wrong, and we're so worried about everybody else's opinions, especially for people who were socialized female. If you were socialized female growing up, you were taught that everybody else matters more than you. Women are running around on Christmas morning trying to, keep everybody else happy. Women are literally, it's all over like TikTok videos and YouTube videos right now that like they don't get nothing in their stockings unless they do it themselves for Christmas. Like the guys don't put stuff in their stockings. The kids don't put stuff in their stockings. If women don't fill their own stocking, they don't even get a stocking on Christmas. So it's like you have all of this like social expectation that you have to make everybody else happy. And you kind of forget what being happy looks like for you. Like when I started focusing on that again, like I was super burned out. I hated almost everything I was doing just like 2.5 years ago. And was really struggling. And I've like worked on all this stuff myself. and I found my joy again. I had forgotten just how much I liked to stim and dance. And like my brain DJ would put on a good song while I'm cooking dinner, and I'm just dancing to the music in my head. I'm having a good time. Sometimes a brain DJ puts on a stupid song, but most of the time it's okay. And you just stop worrying about everything. Like I went to TNC this year and all my nerdy stuff, comfortable clothes, didn't even wear my contacts, went back to glasses because they're comfortable. I wasn't worried about what people thought, and it was so freeing. And everybody else wanted to be more like me. Everybody's like, man, yeah, I shouldn't have worn heels tonight. Or like, yeah, I shouldn't have worn these uncomfortable pants. Or I don't know why I put this earring on or this top on. Or, name the piece of clothing. There was something pissing them off. And it's like, we don't want to be seen to fail.
I don't know if you're taking a pop at me there, but I thought I looked good in those high heels this year. I think they threw off my calves very well. But here's the funny thing. You've actually had to force yourself to be visually challenging with the whole blue. You've had to do that in order to, I don't want to say hide, but become yourself. You've actually had to go out noisily with the color, with the hair, in order to be able to relax. Isn't that strange that you've had to do that?
A little bit maybe, but it's a shift in priorities. So like we've noticed that a lot of our students, people who go through this process with the academy or go through this process with the blueprint, they start getting a lot more comfortable in who they are.
Right.
And when you start getting comfortable with yourself, you start getting comfortable with where you're going. You're not as afraid to make mistakes because you know how you're going to handle them. You have support. You have a plan. And you just get more relaxed. You get to just be you. You get to stop worrying about what everybody thinks. Like you get to, if somebody's going to be turned off by this, good.
Yeah.
And you start getting really excited. And it's a shift we see in entrepreneurs too. Again, like you watch these timelines, you watch these bios, you'll see the same things happen all the time. In the beginning, they always try and fit in. They're wearing the clothes everybody's wearing. They're trying to make the videos that everybody else is making. They're trying to write content like everybody else is doing it. And they lose who they are. But then when they get really comfortable niching, it usually happens after niching. If you ever notice, after they decide to niche down and they get real clear and comfortable on who their target audience is, they stop being afraid to repel. They know who they're trying to attract and they stop being afraid of who they're going to repel. And then you start to see them emerge. You start to see them be a little quirky. You start to see them try new things with their videos. You start to see them getting a little bit more inventive and creative on stages and not be as afraid to show up. And it's the confidence in their business. It comes back to it almost every time, the confidence in their business. It just derails so many things.
There's some different circles going around now, and the classic lines, the riches are in the niches. But there's a lot of people that are saying, oh, you shouldn't niche. If you can just be you, and as you say, you attract those that want to be attracted and that you can connect with. There's the classic line, if you try to attract everybody, you attract no one. But by stepping out, imperfections and all, warts and all, problems and inconsistencies, and you are just you, then freeingly, that's easy. I've always said it takes no effort for me to be me. So why are people so scared of being themselves today?
Most people haven't been themselves. They have been who everybody else needed them to be. At home, you're who your husband or wife or spouse needs you to be. You're who your kids need you to be. When you're at doctor's visits, you're who the doctor needs you to be. When you're at business events, you're whoever the business event needs you to be. You're showing up and speaking on a stage, you're whoever the event manager needs you to be. Most people don't slow down long enough to figure out who they need to be. And the avatars thing. Niching into an avatar. Most people are using marketing avatar sheets to design their business. Those are not business design tools. Marketers use avatar sheets to document what is, not to plan what should be, which is why I created a completely different tool. And nobody fights me on niching anymore once they use this tool. And it breaks down your avatar into like 5 levels. It's inspired by like D&D. So for any of our like Dungeons and Dragons fans in the audience today, if you're familiar with your character sheets and how you level a character up over time, it's inspired by that. Your business doesn't get small, it gets massive because you're looking at where someone started their journey. Like an entrepreneur dreamed of being an entrepreneur at one point, dreamed of leaving business. And they had a whole journey they go to be somebody like you or to be like Cosm, where you have choice, where you have freedom, where you have flexibility, where you've got multiple revenue streams, where like it wouldn't be impossible to be able to lose it all and go broke, but it'd be hard. You'd have to make some stupid decisions to go all the way back, you know? So it's like, if you look at that whole journey, that's decades of someone's life. And that's what they're going on. And you want the clients who are going to do it anyway. The dreamers, the ones who are just getting started in business, who are going to make it to that like level 4, level 5 success, even if you never got involved. And now it reframes how you think about it, because you're like, okay, so if this is their levels, if this is their journey, if I enter their journey right here, can I get them to the next level faster, easier, and with a greater chance of success? I think so. How? Right? And you start designing all of your businesses. You start looking at different partners. If I'm working with an entrepreneur, do I touch their finances and bookkeeping? Absolutely not. Do I know they need a bookkeeper and a financial person? Absolutely. I could partner with one of them and they've got my client. You know, so you start being able to find your partnerships. You start being able to design your services. You start being able to stack your services, stack your businesses to serve at different levels. And your business gets bigger than you could build in 20 years, not smaller. And it's serving the same person, and it's putting the customer first.
How do people get hold of you?
My name, ChristinaHooper.com, has the links to all of my everythings.
All right, okay. We'll put the Neurodivergent Academy in here as well. We'll put your links in there. You know, I think the only thing louder than you, even though you're not loud, is your personality. You're very engaging. You're right. You know, you'll hide in the corner until you're ready to connect with someone. And I absolutely love that. I hate the word networking, but I love the word connection. So, Christina, thank you very much for sharing your time, enthusiasm, and knowledge on this day. And thanks for showing up as Blue. There you go. How's that for a pun? Thanks for being on the show today, Christina.
No, thank you for having me. This has been great.
Look after yourself. Bye. Hey, thanks for listening to the podcast. You know what to do. If you love it, share, subscribe, but more than anything, do something with it. And remember, life's too short to play it safe. So disrupt, connect, and grow. See you next time.